Welcome to the Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gaming, get nerdy, and get
nurtured. Welcome. This is podcast number 33. Woohoo!
Can't believe it.
Yeah. Wow. Welcome everybody. Who's going to read the welcome today? Crystal, go for it.
Welcome. This is the podcast where wellness meets nerdiness to level up real life connections and adventures. On this episode, which we are really grateful to say is number 33, we will be continuing a deep dive on the topic of men and cuddling. And this is the third time we've really worked on this topic. So we're very excited to keep getting deeper into how platonic touch has changed men's lives and how access to vulnerability impacts society and our perception of masculinity. We're also, of course, going to talk about what's going on with the community of nerds, cuddlers, and gamers. And of course, our Nurtured Nerds community is free to join. So please reach out with us or reach out to us with a comment or email to let us know what you're nerdy about. Thank you again, everyone, for being
here. So let's have our hosts introduce themselves. I'm Mary. Hey guys, welcome back.
Welcome, Mary.
I have done professional cuddling, and I'm kind of immersed in Cuddle Party right now, and it's way fun. And I love this topic. This is my sweet spot, working with our tender men who love connection like I do. So I'm excited for the panel today. So thank you. Woohoo! Who's next of our hosts?
I'm Crystal. I'm located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've been professionally cuddling for 6 years or over 6 years now, leading both group events and one-on-one sessions in the Pittsburgh area. I have a big heart space for intimacy, vulnerability, and connection, between multiple or two humans, both in the platonic and even in, the romantic or familial sense. And so I just really love learning about, cuddling. I love learning about what makes someone special, and I'm really grateful to be here supporting Nurtured Nerds and just being present with masculinity today.
And my name is Alyssa, also known as the IRL support main, the founder of Nurtured Nerds, and I'm excited to be with you guys today. I just last month I just completed the new Cuddlist training. I went back and redid the training, so that was really fun. And I'm starting to get used to saying this to people as well. So I am a musician, so that's something that I am actively doing right now. And I also practice shamanic energy medicine. So those are my three main hats that I wear currently.
Wonderful. So shall we hear about what you're drinking, and then we'll have our panelists introduce themselves and what they're drinking today. Alyssa always has the best stuff that she's drinking, I think, to share with us.
Today I'm drinking jasmine green tea, but I did want to share with you, Mary, that I finally got pu'er tea.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I've been having it most days, and it's really delicious. So
nice.
Yeah.
Wait, what kind of tea is it?
Pu'er.
Oh my gosh, I some. Yeah.
Puerh. Yeah.
It's good.
Really...
Good
stuff.
It's
kind of more composted, it's more aged dark leaf tea. I kind of like it because it's kind of earthy, right? I remember that one episode I had some, and I was telling you about it.
I think you told us about it a few times. So
yeah, did I? Okay, cool. Yeah, I like it. I still have some from way back when. I don't drink it very often, but I like it. Today I just have water. My favorite blue cup. Stay hydrated, everybody. What about you, Crystal?
I'm drinking it's like a green, it looks like swamp water, but it's actually super healthy for you. It's one of those green spirulina powdery liquids. It's called Bloom. So it's got like prebiotics or postbiotics. I get confused. Very good stuff though.
Nice.
Thank you.
Well, and we have some panelists with us today, so I'm super excited. I think this is the most we've had on a call before. So I'd love to invite our panelists to introduce yourself and what you're drinking. You can share with us. Let's start with Razzie. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Yeah, okay. I'm using the name Razzie. It's kind of a name I use for the part of me that is young. So sensitive, innocent, and playful, kind of my inner kid, which I think is very
Yeah.
relevant to what we're doing today. It's kind of healing our inner kids for men is kind of taboo talk, and so it's challenging to get into. But so I thought I'd kind of embrace my inner kid as much as possible. I'm not drinking anything because if I do, I'll be running to the washroom in about 5-10 minutes. So it's just like that's part of my healing journey too. I'm struggling with a severe autoimmune illness that affects my gut, and so if I drink, I'm off to the washroom in a flash. So that's kind of my story around drinking. I wish I could, but no I can do. And Jeff mentioned shirts, and I thought, oh, that's a good thing to bring to the fore. This is a shirt I got from my sister about it's kind of it says every child matters. It's more for it's kind of orange. It's more for the indigenous people up here in the residential schools, but I think it also applies to men, and the kid we once were actually matters. It's a big part of my healing journey. And so I thought maybe I'll put on the shirt, and so that I've got something that isn't advertising Coca-Cola. Even though it isn't, it's just the shirt. But
Just the color. Yeah.
I'll put this one on in a second here.
Okay, cool. Well, thank
Is that
you.
what you were looking for?
Yeah, excited to have you here with us today. Thank you.
Thanks.
Jeffrey, could you go next?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff, regardless of what my name says. I've been cuddling with professional cuddlers for the past several months. Like Garth, I'm wearing a red shirt. However, in my nerdiness, I realized I probably shouldn't have done that because the guys in red shirts on Star Trek always died by the end of the episode. So maybe that wasn't the best choice. That being said, however, Garth is a Coke guy and I'm dyed-in-the-wool Pepsi. My mother even owns stock in the company. That being said, I'm trying to go healthier, so I went with water for today and plenty of it to stay hydrated.
Good. Yeah, good. Love it. Thanks, Jeff.
One other thing. Sorry, one other thing. Literally my first podcast ever. So thank you for the invitation, Crystal.
Nice.
Happy you're here.
And we also have Yoni with us. Yay.
Hi, everyone. First of all, Jeff, if I remember correctly, red shirts are also commanding. So with like the commanders. So at least in the next generation, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they
I might be wrong.
Changed color schemes. Yeah.
Your leadership. That's it.
Well, you can call me Admiral if you want. I'll go with it.
There you go.
There you go.
Admiral, my Admiral.
The captains have all the fun.
It's all how you see it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Yoni. I am coming to you from Francisco. I'm a professional cuddler. I'm originally a sex educator and a graduate of the Institute for Advanced Study of Human Sexuality, but more so nowadays, I do professional cuddling in two main ways. One of them is one-on-one cuddling with cuddlists, and the other is I run cuddle events that are called cuddle parties with Cuddle Party. And I've been doing that for I've been doing that for about 7.5 years. Something like that. Let me see. Oh, what am I drinking? I am very boring cold water. Boring is best. It is, I just love just cold water. I drink Diet Coke with my meals usually, but today it's cold water. Yeah.
Water excites me. I don't accept that it's boring. I think it's awesome.
No. And just to bring a little bit more information on what we're doing here today, one of the things that I love about being a cuddlist and being a professional cuddler is showing up as a masculine person, showing a different type of masculinity. So I'm really excited for our conversation today because this is exactly what I want to bring into the world. So thank you.
Well, I've been talking too much, so I'm going to let one of our other hosts take it from me.
Oh, I think, we've heard a little bit about everybody. Something we haven't heard is maybe how you first were introduced to the world of professional cuddling, or that cuddling was a thing. And of course, I'd love everyone to give an answer, but really, maybe first impressions and what kind of lured you to want to be a part of that world. Who would like to go first and talk a little bit about their introduction into cuddling?
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Actually, it strangely enough just came up on my Facebook timeline recently that 7 years ago I saw a posting from Sam Hess. And I thought, professional cuddling, that's interesting. And then moved on with the rest of my day. That being said, through life circumstances and what have you, more recently I came into the need for professional cuddling. And the first thing I did after I Googled it is I found Cuddlist. And after that, I looked at, okay, there are some folks, 10 or more, I think, in Pennsylvania, and I'm from Pittsburgh, PA. And then I came across Crystal. And so I've been very fortunate to be under her tutelage as receiving the benefits from professional cuddling, and just recently cuddled with another professional cuddler as well.
Thank you. I am so honored that you're here. I'm so grateful for your courage and just, the journey that you and I have been on. So just thank you for being so willing to share. I think it really benefits all humans. And I want to say how honored I've been to redefine masculinity, specifically with the work that I've done with you. So thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you.
Who is ready to talk a little bit about Razzie? I love it. I want to
Yeah,
hear.
I'll go. Same topic.
Yeah.
I was kind of in my efforts to heal myself of illness. I went to a healing institute in Europe, in the Netherlands, and they, given my history of trauma, they suggested if I could find someone to sleep with, no sex, it would be good for me. And so I tried that there and got no luck at all, or very, very little. And so I came back here to Canada, where I live, and was kind of frustrated with that. And then I ran into Marnia Robinson's book, Peace Between the Sheets. It has a whole section on how to heal in intimate relations in the first 3 weeks, or sleeping together, no sex. So I thought, oh, this might help. And I had a little bit of luck with that, but not much. And this town where I live is extremely conservative, so it didn't go very far. So frustrated again. And then I ran into cuddle parties. I'm not too sure how. I think probably online or something, and got Tika from Castlegar to come and host an event here where I live. And that was such a high. I was like, wow, this is good. Unfortunately, she got sick, couldn't come back, went to Hawaii, and then now she's on the coast, so I haven't had that. So I've been doing a lot of work virtually, and that seems to be helpful, because it's now I've got a buddy with been struggling for a long time. The virtual world helped a lot, particularly during COVID, but got a buddy I now work with, doing a 3-minute game on a regular basis. We meet weekly, and I do as many virtual cuddle parties as I can find, and I'm quite involved in putting out the message. And found a fellow, John Elwood, who's out of New York, who's a cuddlist, and worked with him a bit, and he's amazing. So it's
Agreed.
it's kind of my history of cuddling. I noticed one thing when I was doing blood work, when I was first had experienced Tika's cuddle party here, and for only in person one I've done, and it improved a great deal. I was like, wow, that's amazing, because to see my blood work improve that much over something that is, you wouldn't really expect it, because doctors certainly don't prescribe it. But I was like, wow, this is powerful stuff. So that really that got my attention.
Razzie, I love hearing that. I really love hearing the physical benefits that you've been able to feel or experience. And, I think a lot about the mental health side of it, but I really just agree or resonate with the concept that it isn't prescribed, and that perhaps that is something that we could all raise awareness about and shift.
It'd be nice. I think we got a ways to go before that's going to happen, but it's just recognizing that the effect on my body and how powerful it is, and my mood, it had a huge effect on my mood. It's like, this is important stuff, and it's, otherwise I'm very isolated, which is not so good.
Mhm.
And
Thank you.
it's common for a lot of us right now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thank you, Razzie. I want to, first of all, you're in great hands. John Ellsworth is incredible, and you're extremely fortunate to be working with him. So they're great. And second, I really want to thank Jeff and Razzie for coming here and speaking, because one of the hardest things I've found in our industry is explaining to people what actually is happening in cuddle parties, in cuddle sessions, how it affects people. And it's, it's deeply personal journeys. And it's difficult to find people who are willing to come forward and basically share their experiences. So I'm extremely grateful for you two. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, I also want to jump in really quick and say that John was my activity partner in the Cuddlist training. So I've gotten to connect with that wonderful human being as well. So yeah, I agree. Just wanted to put that in there.
Yeah. Amazing person. How did I get into cuddling? So I actually got into it when when I went to Sex Geek Summer Camp as a sexual educator. And I met Amanda Ananda, who at the time was like the most successful cuddler. And she basically said, oh, you should totally try it out. And I was looking for work. I was thinking, where am I going to go? And I've always been told I give great hugs, so why not share them with people? And I started the Cuddlist training. And as I was starting the training, I realized that the touch part of cuddling is great, but the consent part, it just changed the way that I look at communication, the way I communicate, and the way the world runs for me right now. So I'm extremely grateful for being introduced into a more consent culture, even before Me Too, before this kind of started budding, and it made me just want to spread it around and teach it as much as possible. So again, the more I did it, the more I realized that doing it from a male presenting person position is even more special and even more different. And I'm sure we're going to talk about this, but I feel like male practitioners and female practitioners, sorry for being so binary, but for the discussion, I'll keep it that way. We have basically almost completely different jobs. We do the same thing, but we do something completely different because of the clientele that comes to us. So I think it's very interesting to and important to bring that into light as well. Does that answer the question?
Beautifully.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, Yoni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Same. I certainly would love to dive into that deeper, whether we choose to dive into that now. I don't know if you would like to, or if you're feeling open to share just, anything that comes up for you. You have been doing this so long, you've trained others. I'd love to hear, something from your perspective on, some of the challenges that you may face that maybe I don't face, or maybe the different perspectives.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about here. I think there are three main elements to the answer to this question. One is me, the other is you, and the third is society. So I'll start with who am I as a practitioner. Just by me presenting as a man, so much goes with that. And that includes he's dangerous. It includes he's going to be extra sexual towards me. It includes, can I trust him? Like all of those things come in just by me being me. I haven't done even anything. You just saw my picture. So there's so much in there just because of people's experiences. So that's one thing. And the second thing is you. Just by you presenting as a woman, sex immediately comes into mind for a lot of people. There's a lot of beauty concepts in people's minds and how they help for your success, and what kind of clients you're going to get. Sorry, I kind of answered a little differently than I started. I meant to say us as practitioners, them as clients, and them as clients means that a lot of men, and not present company excluded, but a lot of men turn to cuddling because they think it's a sexual service, and the amount of cuddle requests that I see that hold sexual content or trying to be manipulative and get sexual gratification from female clients is something that I get very rarely. I do get, but way less. I also get way less clients. I'm going to throw a number out there. It is not based in science. It's based on, just feels like about a tenth of the amount of requests that female practitioners get. And then there's society. What society looks like. It looks at what does a male cuddler even mean? What does it mean about his masculinity? What does it mean about the way that they communicate? All of those things. And what does it mean about a female practitioner? Some people may think it's sex work. You can argue that it is a certain type of sex work without the sex. There are so many different ways that society looks at it. And I'm sure that they look at male practitioners and female practitioners differently.
I love that. Thank you so much for expanding on that. It was really, really beautiful and well put. And I think that a lot of people watching may or may not understand all of that or recognize it off the top of their head. So I love just getting a little more meat and potatoes on it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And yum, meat and potatoes.
One of the things that I've kind of found in my practice is there are obviously different kind of clients that are looking for different kinds of things. And some of them just want nurturing from a parental figure. And I wonder if a dad figure would get more of that. I don't do you find that in your practice, Yoni?
I haven't encountered it clearly.
Okay.
I think that there might be some elements in there, maybe not a parental figure, but a caregiver. Like someone,
nurturer.
someone nurturing and caregiving. I have encountered, so this is the type of partner I should be looking for, right? I can give an example of what a communicative and caring partner can look like, where their previous partners may have not been. And I'm saying partner, but it could also be interaction, right? Oh, my no wasn't respected in the past. Oh, this is what I should be looking for. This kind of communication. Yeah.
I love that you said that because that completely resonated with me, that it's a caregiver really. And those are the kind of people I find in my practice that they're looking for supportive connection, two-way connection, it's not just about what can I get out of you, sex or whatever. It's about what can we do. And of course, that's the core of cuddling. It's bi-directional, right? We're giving that support and we're having a true connection of something we really both want to be doing together. And that's what gives us the best feelings. So anyway, thank you. Yeah, I love how you put that. Yeah, I came into cuddling, back to the other question. I came into cuddling. I think you guys have probably all heard my origin story, maybe not Jeff, but I was looking for something too. And I've realized that, you know, people ask me like, what's the demographic of people that are looking for cuddling or cuddle party? And it's not any, I can't say any age or sex or orientation. It's people who are looking for connection. They might be in transition, you know, maybe they're having a divorce, maybe there was a death, maybe they're just having an inner epiphany, like I'm ready to leave my religion or whatever it is. They're ready to look for healthy connection. And those are the people that are coming out to work with a cuddlist or work with a come to a group event because they're like, I'm ready. How do I get the juicy connection, right? They're not finding it where they are and they're ready for something new. That's the demographic I mostly see. And I was that when I went searching and found Cuddle Party. I was like, I'm ready to do something different. I need to find better connections in my life. And I went out and looked and found Cuddle Party and I was so thrilled. And so I was like, I have to spread this to everybody. So yeah.
Thank you, Mary. I totally agree. I think self-evolution, looking for something new. I certainly resonate with seeking that when I joined the cuddle world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Cool. And I think a lot of the cuddlers stories that I've heard is they're kind of like Razzie, you know, you're seeking for something for yourself and you find it and you're like, this is awesome and I can help other people this way. I've heard that from a lot of people, how they get into doing this kind of work as a practitioner. Or as a very invested cheerleader, client, ambassador, as such as Razzie and Jeff. So I love it. Yeah.
Did everyone get to speak to that question? So we're ready to, all right. So one that I'm very curious to discuss is, are you open to friends and family, significant others about being a cuddler? I know that's something, I don't know how it is with Cuddle Party. It's been a while since I've been to a Cuddle Party led event versus a Cuddle Sanctuary group event. But I know that that's something that always gets addressed as a boundary of the container, is that unless someone is out as a cuddler and they explicitly tell you that, you know, keep that anonymity there, respect the anonymity. So I'm curious how that's played into cuddling for all of you. Are you out as a cuddler? And if so, like, to what extent? And what has that been like?
Well, I'll go really quick. Yes, I am. And I always say, people, please talk about me because I love it. So, and I do talk about it, but there's people in my life that, you know, I know they don't really want to hear it. So I kind of don't put it in their face, but I'm not hiding it either. So yeah, it's interesting dichotomy where I find where I can, and I've become more open about it because I was with my family just last month and I was telling them things like, yeah, I'm going to a cuddle party. We got a cuddle party coming up. So yeah, I'd love to hear you guys tell what you think. I jumped in because no one was talking. Razzie, go ahead.
Yeah, I've certainly been very enthusiastic ever since Tika's party here. Putting out quite as much as I could. My mother actually asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I said, you know, support with finding people who are into Cuddle Party locally. That would really help. And that went nowhere. I'm running into a lot of, you know, I'm quite open about it. I see the value of it. Sometimes people don't seem to get it, and I don't really care. But it's really tough finding people who get it. Very tough, except online. You know, the virtual parties, I meet people who totally get it, and it's really good for me. But so often it's just it's just a foreign concept. So that's kind of my frustration with it. But I don't have a lot of fear of putting it out. Like I said, I put out a request to my mother, I put it out to my sister. My brother, I don't actually talk about. He's very conservative, and he says I'm not very good with anything that's not conventional, so I just don't even bother him with it because I know it won't work. So that's that's the only family member I've not been very open with. But anyone else who wants to hear me, I'll talk.
Nice.
And hopefully someday it'll pay off locally.
Well, I'm happy to chime in and add to the conversation. I'm really out there as of the beginning of the podcast, because it's really been a personal journey for me thus far. But when Crystal reached out about today's opportunity, I thought, you know what, it's time for me to take a bigger step into a larger world and really start to focus on becoming more comfortable with letting people know, not just that I cuddle, but I think it's a great experience, a great opportunity for those who are really seeking it. And I hope that in any way, shape, and form with today's conversation and future conversations that we can hope to build a better sense of community here in Pittsburgh.
And I want to say thank you, Jeff. I really am thrilled you're here and raising awareness and stepping out of, again, your comfort zone. I'd also love to share that, you know, Jeff and I have discussed often creating a podcast, even a cuddle cast, just because we both love talking a lot, both talk a ton. And I think that's amazing. And so we're great speakers. And I'm really honored you're here sharing your story. Once again,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it would be difficult for me to be professional and not be out to the world. Having said that, it's interesting where I do try to not keep it a secret, but not be forward with it. Let's put it this way. And where I do put it forward. So for instance, I had a job that I worked with kids. I was an after-school teacher, after-school program. I immediately talked about it as much as I could with my peers, so they would know exactly what I do. And if any parent comes forward and says, "Did you know he's a professional cuddler?" My want is for them to respond, "Yes, he doesn't shut up about it." So that's one option. The other option is that I have a tech job as well, and there I kept it kind of quiet and talked about it only with people. I kind of would bring it up as, and if you want to know what I do outside of work, look me up and talk to me. I wanted people to approach me for their level of comfortableness. And then on one of the company events, the CEO outed me in front of everyone, and then that plan went out the window. But that's the thing. It's kind of like, where do you keep it private and where you don't? I had on one of the flights I took years ago, I had a fellow, like someone sitting next to me, or we're walking down to transfer to another flight, and yes, and what do you do? We're talking very friendly, and I'm a professional cuddler, and I pull out my business card and give it to them, and they were like, "God bless you," and just turned around and walked away. So it good for their boundaries, but yeah, it's definitely interesting to see the reactions from people, and how do you kind of talk about it openly. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Yoni. I can very much resonate with, sharing and being completely out of the cuddle closet, as I lovingly call it, but still having arenas that I am less vocal in. Being a parent of a separated situation, having my kids kind of know about it and honor it, and their school kind of figure it out, or the other parents see my cuddle signs or things like that. And so I've certainly resonated with that kind of, how much am I sharing and trying to read the audience and trying to be mindful, but also I do have the elevator speech kind of packed and ready anywhere I go. So I feel very in alignment with that. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you everyone for sharing. Those are great answers. Wonderful.
And I wonder if the cuddle closet is the linen closet, basically.
Very much so. It's very squishy in there.
Exactly.
Now I'm feeling, let's see. Mary, I'm feeling you.
Yeah. Are you feeling me? Okay. I kind of do want to jump into our topic at hand that we were going to talk about. Like, what are the differences when we're talking about male presenting people as practitioners and as clients? Like, what do we think are the main differences between female presenting folks, as clients or practitioners? And, I was trying to think how to frame this question, and we've got a great outline, but I always have thoughts of my own too. So. Oh, but Alyssa has a thought, so she could probably wordsmith it better than me. But I'd like to hear what you're thinking, how to frame that question.
Well, obviously, I only have my own perspective here, but
Right.
it was something that came up in the Cuddlist training I just did, and John was a great contributor to that conversation, which was basically like he had been very open because it was related to one of our activities that we did, but it's just he was saying, he recognized the difference in, and this could also partially be his particular like height and build and other things about his demeanor. I can't speak too much to that, but basically he was just saying, I don't really do much screening, and I've never had anyone challenge my boundaries. And I just, I have people come over and it's just not an issue. And I thought, I hadn't really thought too much about it before that point, but it really got me thinking. And yeah, that seems like a very different experience. So it seems like in some ways it's less challenging, and in other ways it's more challenging. And yeah, Yoni, what you were saying earlier was really like starting to get me thinking a lot more about this as well. Like getting less clients reaching out to you, or less potential clients reaching out to you, that's definitely a challenging thing. But yeah, that's what I have to speak to this. It was just that recent experience with John sharing. Yeah, what did you want to say, Mary?
Yeah, that just brought up something for me. It was a realization I had of kind of the difference between how we're socialized. Like, we're just going to be general of men and women here, but men are generally in the place where like anybody could meet my needs, anybody could give, everybody's available to be what I want them to be, right? Anybody is good until I find out that they're not. But women are generally the other way of like, yeah, I want something, nobody's going to do it until I vet them thoroughly and I find out that they can, right? It's the complete opposite. And so this is a problem with relationships. Like, we get together, you walk in a bar and you're like, who am I going to sell my thing to or go on a date with or whatever? Men are like, yeah, everybody could be doing it. Everybody could be it. Sure, you, sure. Yeah, sure, you're, yeah. But the women walk in, they're like, not you, not you, not you, until I get to know you and figure, maybe later if I figure it out, And so by the time you're actually like to the point where the women are like, oh yeah, maybe you, and the men are like, well, you already told me no 3 times, so they're, we're already like we're like this. Does that ring true for any of you guys?
Well, it does for me, Mary, because when you were mentioning that, the first thing that came to mind was decades ago, I read a book by Dr. John Gray called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And a lot of it really focused on just how men and women communicate differently. And a lot of that, when I read that book, like, oh my God, I've been raised on Mars, but I have Venus tendencies. And it was a real eye opener for me, and just in terms of, like you were saying, how men and women approach things very differently, almost opposite. But then the focus is how do we come to, much more of a understanding of each other. And if I'm taking us back a little bit, like when I first heard the term cuddle therapy, I thought, wait a second, cuddle is something you do before sex or after sex? And I'm talking with my hands, and you're only just seeing flashes. So sorry, I'm a hand talker. That being said, I thought that was something that came before sex or after sex. And certainly when I saw the video 7 years ago with Sam Hess and the things I've learned since then, and certainly cuddling with Crystal, and actually before I even met Crystal, on her Cuddlist bio, for lack of a better phrase or word, it talked about consent, connection, and boundaries. And I thought, okay, these are 3 keyword terms I need to really zero in on and what that means in terms of platonic cuddle therapy. So I kind of went in with okay, don't have any preconceived notions, be a student and learn what you can, knowing all the decades of socialization from what society expected of me as a man and what I've learned through the various relationships I've had over the years, It was just a very unique change for me, but a good one as well, because for the path that I'm on, it's really about taking care of me as opposed to taking care, well, being a people pleaser and taking care of so many other people, but not focusing on my own self-care. And that's kind of really the path I'm on today.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Hmm.
Razzie's got
Razzie,
his
what did
hand
you
up.
want to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got something on this. I think as I'm not coming from a practitioner point of view, I'm coming more from client. I've noticed in some of the cuddle parties I've attended, there's even the first one I went to, I was afraid it would be just men, and when I got there, it was a mix, and that was quite nice. But I've also seen several times being kind of an urging men to kind of explore cuddling with men, because typically they just don't want to go there. And that for me, it's kind of like working your edge, just working the risky part, which for men is scary to think of. There's all kinds of taboos against touch between men. We're supposed to compete. We're supposed to be tough. We're supposed to find women. We're not supposed to get close to men. I mean, men are the enemy. We compete with them. We're competing over women basically.
Mhm.
And for me, this is really important because, for me, I'm kind of the other way around. I when I finally embraced my own sexuality, I found I became very unstable and very angry and confused. And that to me is trauma history for sure. But I've seen, as I've been working on that, I've realized that I feel a lot safer with men actually than I do with women, even though I'm straight. I'm a cisgender heterosexual male, but still men feel safe because I know none of that relationship game, none of that sex stuff is going to come in at all. The little kid in me, every child matters, can come out. Razzie can come out and play. And it's such a beautiful place to be. In a mixed group, it's a little more, and particularly one-on-one with a woman, it's much riskier. And that's why I'm so grateful for John Ellsworth, because he's a huge find for me. And this other buddy that I do the 3-minute game with, that's helps a lot for me. I think as men, we're trained so much to get our emotional and physical nurturing needs met, because that's regulation in trauma terms, that by women, that it's almost impossible to think that we could get those same needs met through men. And in my mind, sex is an addiction in our culture. We go to it, just particularly for men, we just go sex, sex, sex. We don't even think about, well, what are the needs of this little kid in me that is, well, the science is quite strong that little boys are handled less than little girls in infancy, and that is tied to violence later on in life. That to me is a clear sign of a trauma amongst little boys that is widespread. And it's just part of our culture wants us to be tough. So we're not supposed to be handled gently. We're supposed to be toughened up, but it wounds us very deeply. And I think if, as men, if we can start to confront this issue and say, yes, I know for clear, I got clear stories from family about my birth, and it was not easy. So it's kind of like, I know that trauma is there. I feel it in my body. I see it in my relationships with women. Not a lot of guys are as clear as I am, I would gather. But if once we get clear on that and see that if we want to heal as men, if we want to become less violent, if we want to become less destructive, less suicidal, less drug addicted, there's all kinds of ways that men can be destructive. Then we got to look at finding ways to support each other in nurturing ourselves emotionally and physically. There's only one group, the first group I saw that really came out with that was the Philadelphia Men's Therapeutic Cuddle Group. They're out of West Plymouth, I think it's called. No, Plymouth Meeting. That's it, in Pennsylvania. They did so. They had some articles on the news that were just fascinating to me. A friend of mine in San Diego sent me them. I was like, wow, this looks good. Unfortunately, they don't work online, but they come out of the Mankind Project, which is working to help men heal. And I think they're onto something really powerful, because if men can honor this need to be touched in an innocent way, like the little kid we all were at one point in time, and heal those wounds, I think it'll make a huge difference and become less dependent and kind of frantically trying to get that woman in our life, and all the stress and
Mhm.
the wife abuse and all that stuff that comes with it. We can
Mhm.
start to support each other, and then take some of the pressure off that scene, and start to help each other and learn to cooperate at a very deep level. That to me is really central to me. Certainly central to my healing. That's very, very clear. But I
Excellent.
think in general, it's also important.
Mhm.
I
Thank you
wanna
for sharing that. Yeah, Yoni?
I want to piggyback and kind of strengthen what you're saying, Razzie, because I think you're saying something very important. The way men are socialized is that kind of competition, zero-sum game. If I don't take it, I won't have it. I have to fight over the girl, right? That kind of mentality. And by men being aggressive, it makes women be defensive, rightfully so.
Mhm.
So basically, by men behaving like the social standard of men, they are basically making it harder for themselves and for. And I feel like today, being truly safe and showing that you are a safe person to be around is a huge asset. And it is extremely important. Again, not just showing that you're safe, but actually being safe. For showing yourself as a valuable person to be around, and specifically in this heterosexual dating, a valuable man to have in that woman's life.
Mm.
Can I
Thank
build
you
on
for
that?
that. Yeah, Jeff?
I'm going to break the guy code and tell you the only two rules about socialization being raised as a boy was that the only time you would have contact with another male would be chest bumps or high fives. And that really only applies if you're in sports. And I was not a big sports guy. My sport of choice in junior high was track. Well, how much contact do you really have in track except the relay team where you hand off the baton? That's about it. It wasn't really any other form of socialization of, in order to be, and I want to use the air quotes here, a real man, you have to keep your feelings inside and don't show them. You're supposed to be stoic. That's how you're, expected to be. Maybe that's how the other male members of my family were raised, and I was raised the same way with that. And it's only been through other socialization and other classes and coursework that I've learned to become more comfortable in being myself and being more expressive, which is probably why I went to college for media and communications, because I think somebody mentioned earlier, maybe Crystal, like my mother, I have the gift of gab. I love talking to people. I love getting new people. And that worked out well, being a reporter for a newspaper to interview people, to communicate with them. And then I just enjoyed that much more about communication. So I learned to kind of go against the grain of my own upbringing. Although I'm happy to say that male members of my family, as I've gotten older, have become more accepting of hugs and demonstrating, empathy and sympathy, and doing that with more than just words. And that's been helpful later in life. But certainly in the upbringing world, it was traditional male upbringing as far as very little physical contact, except for chest bumps and high fives.
Thank you for that, Jeff. And Razzie, you were going to say?
Yeah, on the topic of touch when we were young, I tried out for basketball in grade 9 and did miserably badly. So I ended up being very intellectual and got really good at that. I went all up into my head. So that's not a touch world at all. And my father was a military officer. That wasn't too much cuddling going on in that department. And I complained to my mother when I was in my mid-20s or 22 or something. I can't even hug my father. And she said, well, you'd probably like that. It was like hugging a board. He was so stiff. I was like, wow, this is really, so yeah, touch amongst men. Fortunately, I've experienced other cultures a bit, and Quebec is much, much more touchy-feely, and so I really enjoyed that. So Quebecois men are much more. One of the guys that I'm closest to here hugs a lot, and he's originally from Quebec. But us Anglo as well, we ever not good. I think my father's idea of a game was playing with ICBMs with the Russians. I was like, wow, really? Talk about a hug.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
You know, I love Razzie that you're working on connecting with other men. I think that's so important that men find a way to connect with each other. But one of the things I've heard from the men in my community is they're like, I don't feel safe with other men, and that just makes me sad, you know. Um, yeah, they're afraid of men the same way women are afraid of men, that they're gonna hurt them physically and emotionally, you know.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's your guys' experience. Yeah, I see people nodding. So, which, yeah, is,
I kind of
yeah.
get caught because, you know, women are, given my trauma history, are challenging for me and very challenging. And
Mhm.
men just kind of are like, stay away, you fag. So it's kind of like, whoa,
Mm.
it doesn't work really either way. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, from what I've seen of the police reports, perpetrators are typically male, but victims are shared almost equally here in Canada between men and women.
Mm. Mhm.
So yeah, it makes sense that men would be afraid. It's like, wow, you know, that leaves us
Yeah.
very isolated, and that's really not good either. So we get prone to, as women become stronger and are setting stronger and stronger boundaries, which are doing, and it's just fantastic. It also means that men are becoming more and more isolated, and we're starting to see the dependency that men have on women, and we've got to get over this fear of each other.
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you for sharing all of that.
Mhm.
Something I'm curious about that I want to ask Yoni before he has to get off the call, but I want to hear from everyone, is has being a part of the cuddle community inspired you to create something, any kind of creative endeavor? And what has that been? What was that like for you?
Yeah. So I think again, I think the drive has always been to try to explain what we do and kind of share it with the world, because in cuddle parties, I get new people all the time and they're like, I am extremely nervous. I have no idea what I'm walking into. And I'm like, yeah, you have no idea. There is no way for you to know what this is. And I completely understand. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. But that's the thing. You can't know what goes on in a cuddle party until you're there. And there are so many ideas in your mind. So that is one of the reasons I started creating things for cuddling. So I'll start with the obvious thing, which is I wrote the book of cuddles, which is more of an instructional, because I found that some people come to my parties and they don't even have a vocabulary for cuddling. I've met people who don't know what spooning is, which is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with ignorance, but that just shows us how much people need a cuddle vocabulary, right? Literally, I didn't know I could do this position. And I've done this position once and it felt this way. I didn't know you can put your arm there and it feels completely different, right? There's just so much to actually physically learn about cuddling. Ah, thank you. Oh, that's my book. Yeah,
I
perfect.
have a copy
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Me
thank you
too.
so much.
And I know Grace does. She always has that out at her events as one of the resources. So it's a very useful book.
Thank
And
you.
beautifully
Definitely.
illustrated too.
Yes, Cecilia
Mhm.
Lee, who is amazing, who is also a cuddlist and a cuddle party facilitator in Ohio. And her illustrations are amazing. I love it. I love having that book out at cuddle parties and at cuddle sessions. It's kind of like a menu. And it allows people to kind of look at what options are even available to them, because they don't even know what exists. And obviously, this is not a there is way more than what is in the book, but that's a good beginning. um
Mhm.
Another thing that I created is I did a TEDx talk at TEDx Soma. And that was a very challenging experience for me because as you can see, I riff about subjects. I don't have a script. And when you do a TED talk, you need to have a script and follow a script. And that was very challenging for me and my ADHD learning disorder, whatever, waves hands vaguely. And trying to get basically the welcome circle and condense it into 12 minutes was extremely challenging. And I'm very happy that it's out there. I've heard people say that it explains the professional cuddling, what is it, very well. So I'm really proud of that. Those are things that are kind of obvious that I've created. There are things that are probably not really visible for people outside of the community, or even things that the Bay Area cuddling community, or things that I've tried and failed. I tried to make short videos to show, like, for people who are attending cuddle parties, and just show what is their experience of a cuddle party. I tried doing like a recording booth that you can do a testimonial of how is the cuddle party going for you. There are many different endeavors that have failed and did not succeed, but are still kind of like, how do we show people what we are doing here? And how effective it is. And that's a part of why I'm so excited that Jeff and Razzie are here to kind of share that voice, which is so important. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yoni.
Yeah.
So great to have you here. Appreciate you being with us today.
Yeah, I'm sorry I have to drop off, but I'm so happy to be here and to share this space with you. You're all awesome.
You too.
Thank you, Yoni.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks, y'all.
So, do either of you, Jeff or Razzie, have a creative thing that's sparked for you out of cuddling and then your experiences with it?
Let's I'll go, Jeff, unless you wanted to jump in.
No, go ahead.
Okay. For me, it's I had such a huge high on Tika's cuddle party. It was mind blowing. And I was like, wow, this is so important to me. And so for me, creating is more about how do I create a life that for myself is worth living? That's basically it. And outside of, given my history and given the way my family operates, cuddlists for me and cuddle partiers are kind of like my family of choice. If I could spend, I had a fantasy once I shared with Magali in France once, and I said, she has this thing where she says, ask for what you want. I said, why? Sometimes I get really creative and off there, and I said, if I had the money, I'd get myself a huge ship and I'd get people hired to sail a sailing ship to sail around the world, having cuddle parties in it and visiting all the cuddle parties around the world. That was kind of my fantasy. And it's kind of reflects that, this part of me. I love being around people who are able to help me access that place of, innocence and play, a little childlike stuff, and operate more kind of, Cuddle Party is more like a communal organization than family, and I like that. That resonates strongly with me. It's just kind of challenging to ground into my day-to-day life because that's clearly not what's happening around me. But if I had said anything, what I'm doing that's creative is just trying to create a life that for myself is worth living. So the life I'm leaving behind is not worth living.
Very beautifully put. I love that.
Agreed. Very well said. I really feel resonant with the idea that you know, cuddling has kind of shifted my concepts of self-care, self-love, and mindfulness enough that everything is shifting with it. It's certainly not just one aspect. So I love that you're kind of letting go of that past and moving into that creative future. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And Razzie, I really love the way you said that, because my first thought was a little more on the negative side of what you were experiencing. So I appreciate the way you experienced that in such a positive way, because I looked at it as I have fewer decades in front of me and more decades behind me. And if I truly want to live the life that I'll be proud of, I need to take care of myself a lot more and make some true life changes that will make me happy, as opposed to being the retired people pleaser that I've recently given up. But I like the way you said, building a life worth living for yourself. I think that's a beautiful way of saying that phrase. So thank you for that. Probably the only other creative outlet that I've had since then is, as a kid, I was just voracious reader. I love reading all kinds of sci-fi and detective stories. I mean, I had all the Hardy Boys books growing up, and other things. And of course, life got in the way after college, and I really stopped doing a lot of reading unless it was necessary. But since about 7 months ago, I've really gotten back into reading, and I have a visual issue, but still, cuddle therapy has helped to kind of reignite my passion for reading. And I'm just kind of glad that I've gotten back into that, because not just to escape to other worlds by reading sci-fi, but reading a lot of other material as well, material related to psychology, self-help, related to things that interest my friends. When they talk about a book, I'm like, oh, really? Okay, what's the title of that? And and actually then taking action and going to get that book online, or actually go out and buy that book. Since bookstores are the way of the dinosaur apparently anymore. I used to love spending hours in bookstores. I could live there. I actually worked for a B. Dalton bookseller back in the early 90s. And about a third of my every paycheck went to buying books at discount. As an employee, you got like a 25% discount. I was in my glory in those days.
You must have quite a library at this point then.
I do. Unfortunately, they're all in like boxes and packed up and all that. And I'll off about an inch of dust and get to them all again.
Yeah, most of my books are in boxes as well.
If you're done, are you done, Jeff? Sorry.
Yeah,
I just
yeah, I'm
had a
good.
thought.
Thanks. Sorry.
Back to what Razzie said about creating your life. I love that idea. Like, our lives should be our own creation. I'm sorry, Razzie, you have another comment?
Yeah, I want to add a little piece to that, which I think is very relevant to men. And one thing I noticed when I was looking into suicide rates amongst men starting very early is that when kids are young, boys and girls up to their puberty, the difference is very small. It's basically the same. But then the moment they hit puberty, boys take off. They start to become much more suicidal. And I thought, yeah, it's kind of, for men as a whole, I think we have to learn how do we create a life worth living, because clearly the suicide option is one that a lot of men take, much more than women do. Women may express, distress at that level, but they rarely do it. Men are much more likely to do it. And it fits with this, since the change happens at puberty, it's when gender roles start to really kick in. And we have to become more competitive, strong, aggressive, all the, protect, provide, pursue is kind of what we're supposed to do. And for a lot of men, it's too much. It doesn't help. So if we can find ways as men to support each other, that's kind of why I really enjoy connecting with men when I can. And if women in a mixed cuddle party is a large group works, but one-on-one connect with men in the 3-minute game works really well. And it helps me. It's really interesting when I'm doing the 3-minute game, because one thing I've found is, often when I meet with a buddy, I'll talk with him for a while. I'll talk and I say, okay, let's get to the game. We've talked enough. And as soon as we start doing that, as soon as we get into touch stuff, it's this joy will just come up. It's hard to express. It just arises. And I'm like, wow, where did that come from? Because there's no real, my mind just can't figure it out why it's happening. But my body knows and my mood knows right away. It's kind of that deep layer there's underneath our conscious awareness that as soon as I get involved in touch practices, there it is, the joy.
Experience that as well. It's very
That-
touching.
Very amazing. Yeah, it's for me, it's peace of mind. If you don't mind, Mary, me jumping in here. It's really, for me, it's a peace of mind. Platonic cuddle therapy has helped me to kind of reduce my overthinking tendencies. And I'm a huge overthinker. And I realized recently too, through cuddle therapy sessions with Crystal and Aurora, that I need to be developing that self-discipline to bring that overthinking down to a minimum. Instead of starting with a negative thought, start with a positive thought. Or when the negative thought happens, how do I transition it to the positive thought? So I'm totally cool, Razzie, that, you know, for you it's joy, for me it's peace of mind, and helping to reduce the overthinking. To get back something you said a little bit earlier, there was a comedian, or is a comedian, Chris Rock. He said something that I've seen online recently. I think he did the bit years ago. He said the only individuals who get unconditional love are women, children, and dogs. For a man, it's what you can provide. And you know, while initially I thought that's true, I'm also thinking that that's unfair. Like if men aren't getting unconditional love, it's because we're not seeking it, and we're not adopting new ways of communicating with everybody out there, not just women. And that's a huge mountain to climb, but one worthy of climbing for everybody. Men, women, children, and dogs are worthy of that journey, at least in my mind.
Yeah. And this conversation we've been having, we've kind of circled around this idea that it just unlocked for me, is that, you know, when we were children, we're just a being, we're a person, right? We don't have to have all this baggage of like, am I masculine or feminine, man, woman, whatever. But as the inner child, you know, kind of like your shirt, is like if we can, and sorry, I don't have my thoughts articulate, but like as we grow older and go on this journey, we take in a lot of baggage, and then our job later is like, I got to get rid of all of that. You know, we're just unloading all the programming that doesn't work for us,
Well, and that's the killer part,
and
Mary.
trying to
From my
get back.
perspective, I'm glad I'm not
Sorry, go ahead. You're glad you're
that's
not
okay.
a
I didn't mean
child?
to interrupt. The killer for me is I would hate to be a child growing up in today's world, because they have all that wonderful social media and all that access to the internet, and that's all wonderful stuff. But as a kid, I think if I were a kid today, I'd be so overwhelmed with all of that and having that baggage installed earlier in life. So I'm kind of glad I grew up before the internet existed. Not that there wasn't baggage from my childhood, but there was a whole lot less of it. But you're right, as an
Different
adult,
baggage.
yeah, because you know,
Yeah.
after high school and college, it was like, okay, you're out in the world, you're on your own. I mean, I'm unsupervised. I have to take care of myself 24/7, and then I have to meet somebody else to share that world, that life with. Like, that's just like, you're right. There's so much baggage to overcome there.
Yeah, but if we can go back to like the wonder we had as children, and you know, the example from Cuddle Party, like, hey, do you want to ride my trike? You know, yes or no,
Yeah.
and you move on,
Totally.
right? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have all this other whatever. Does that mean sex? Does that mean what? Can I be with you because of this or this? It's like, no, it's just, do you want to ride my trike with me, right? It's like the wonder
Yeah.
of the world of just being happy. And I love being in that space and going back to there, and yeah, it is about kind of uncovering the inner child and just letting him be, without like, these are all the ways you should be, or these are all the things you should be thinking about or talking about or worrying about, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's-
one thing I've noticed, and which I find interesting, this is a very Christian town here. I'm not particularly Christian myself, but I think of myself as I like to listen to what the various traditions say, and a key message coming from Jesus is, be like little children to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of getting rid of all, you wouldn't know that in our culture because we certainly, guys in particular, don't do that. But it's the name Razzie that I use is short for Erasmus, which means worthy of love, which I chose specifically to heal.
I
A
love
part of
that.
me that I've been the part of me that I was conditioned out of so young. You know, I had to grow up far
Right.
faster than I really should have. And the stress has just been astronomical, I'm realizing. And I've been going around trying to be something, leaving behind needs that never got met and having to undo all that conditioning. It's a big job. But I think it's an important one, you know, if we take people like Jesus as having an important message, then maybe we want to strive for that state of childlike innocence as people. Maybe we can, you know, Cuddle Party would be a great place to kind of explore that and to enter that place of innocence and play. It'd be nice if we
It's
could
one
see
of the
It'd be nice to see, you know, Cuddle Party on the front page of Forbes, eh?
Yeah, it would totally. Yeah. But it's one of the core Buddhist principles too, is like beginner's mind or child's mind of going, you know, right? Finding that space where you could just see things without putting all the filters on it.
Yeah.
If we could get to that space
Mm.
with our current experience and knowledge, but you know, still have that vision as like we did when we were children. I hope we can all keep working to that.
I don't think we'll ever be able to throw away the adultness. It's conditioned to us so strongly, but to kind of be able to access that childlike innocence is so much fun.
Yeah.
And I too, Jeff, when I get into that touch place of particularly where I feel really safe, it's so easy to become silent. And my mind just shuts right off. And it's like, wow, that was easy. You know, I spend days cursing myself because my mind's just going nonstop. And then 3 minutes of touch and I'm totally silent. It's just great.
That's interesting because for me, it's the opposite. With the world, I'm much more silent than I was 30 years ago. And now through cuddle therapy sessions with Crystal and Aurora, I'm a lot more of my authentic self. I feel safe enough to express myself in a healthy platonic way that I feel like I'm connected, as opposed to feeling much more alone. Because even after the pandemic, it became a matter of I'm actually, through my employer, I'm able to work from home continuously. I'm considered a based at home employee. Oh, we have 2 new people joining the call, right? Is that how it works? So Crystal, who's our newest member of the group?
So yeah, this is Cupcake. She's kind of a demon kitty, but in a good way. She's Cupcake and very sweet, and also named Oreo. And she can be the cuddliest, squishiest. I'm gonna hold you, and then also she can turn on you like a snake if you're not careful. This one has hurt all of us in the household before. She's very feisty. She actually dominates the puppy, and so she is kind of.
So you named the demon cat Cupcake. Let's talk sometime about how to name things.
My daughter was definitely in charge of this one. My daughter was like, "Oh, Cupcake." And my daughter also is the ruler of this kitty. She can do no wrong. Yeah, I was apologizing mentally, internally, as the dog and the cat started making a lot of noises. But I wanted to honor, and I have so many things I would love to share and say based on everything. The content has been so rich so far. Something we want to touch on before we move forward is the cuddle of the episode. And so I know that we talked a little bit about that, Jeff. And so do you have a cuddle pose, that you would like to share with us, that either you've experienced or you've researched that is kind of a favorite, or that we've experienced, anything that you're open to sharing?
Yeah, I would probably say my favorite cuddle position is actually where you have the little spoon and the big spoon. And where most people probably want to be the big spoon, I like being the little spoon.
It's a beautiful.
Yeah, and that's not that I reached for initially in terms of cuddle therapy, but it's one that has become one of my favorites, next to Mama Bear, Papa Bear. So
both are
really
classic.
Sorry, I'm breaking the question. I'm having 2 favorites, not one. It's my life. I'm going to choose 2 instead of 1.
And Alyssa's kind of demonstrating for us here the big spoon and little spoon. And once again, one of the most comforting, I'd love to share that Mama Bear, Papa Bear also gives me a very similar vibe of that nurturing essence. really, really not only a lot of contact, but again, as somebody who loves to enter into that nurturing state or the mom-like energy, I feel that it's a beautiful pose and really, really, and there she is rocking out the second one. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Much fun. And the monkeys are excellent models for us here.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, can you say any more, or would you like to say any more on what you love about those poses? I kind of just shared what I love about them, but I want to make sure I honor if there's anything that stands out or anything else you'd like to share, and please no pressure.
Sure, no, and thank you for the demonstration model. That was very a visual thing, and I'm a visual learner. So thank you for that. Probably the other thing about Mama Bear, Papa Bear, or I like to be the baby bear, it's just a very relaxing, comfortable position for me. And it's one of born of trust with you, Crystal. I think that's, that's not one that I think we initially did in the first several sessions, but grew to appreciate the relaxation that I experienced and the trust that we had built through a couple of months of sessions before that became my top favorite. So I definitely think it's one that is also therapeutic for me, but ultimately not one that I reached for initially, but like I said, through trust, it became my favorite.
Thank you. I
You're
feel
welcome.
a lot of emotion, a lot of happiness, a lot of just gratitude. Thank you for sharing so much.
I saw another player coming in with Razzie. Were you going to demonstrate one for us?
Sure, I got something, a favorite posture if you guys
Yeah.
are interested. My world is very much a virtual world because getting people to, I'm pretty much housebound for health reasons, and getting anyone to come by. I've got a guy who'll come maybe once every 2 months if I'm really, really lucky. I haven't seen him for about 4 now, so I think I may have lost him completely. So I do a lot of virtual work, and my favorite kind of surrogate partner is Kermode.
Cool.
Buddy. And he's really, in a virtual world, it's getting the touch piece is really important. So boy, it's kind of fading in and out here. Sorry about that. But one thing that he helps a lot with is virtual hugs. He's just great because a lot of people in a virtual scene will just go like this to hug, and it kind of it doesn't really give me the impression that I'm with someone. But with Kermode, I can hug him, and it's just there you go. There's and the other person.
Yeah.
The other person on the other side can do something similar, like Crystal's doing, and we feel like we're hugging each other. Yeah.
A good addition to that can be, at least for me, is I can wrap a blanket around myself and then hug a plushie and wrap the blanket around the plushie. So it's like I'm hugging and being hugged. For having that pressure from the blanket wrapping around. That was a great one. I love that. I love the virtual option as well. It's very important to include that. I wanted to share a nerdy thing with you guys before I leave because I need to hop off the call right now, but I am wearing a nerdy shirt today. You might have seen it earlier, but let me see if I can get the words. Victory should be naked, and it is a reference. It's a reference to an episode of Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
There are these aliens called it's a family. Their family name is Slitheen, and they're from the planet Raxacoricophalopatorius. And their MO, at least in that episode, was that they would steal humans' skin and wear it and pretend to be them. But then when they thought that they had won, they're like, victory should be naked, and they take it off and they're just proud in their alien form. So as gruesome as like the details of that story are, I like to apply it to this idea in the cuddle community of sort of becoming like emotionally naked and vulnerable. Is like that is a win when you can do that and show up as like your true self and not hide under, whatever that suit is that you wear in the rest of your life where you might not feel safe to show your true self. So I want to share that with you guys. Thank you for listening.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
I
Love
love you
this.
all. Mwah.
Thanks,
Hugs.
Alyssa.
Hugs,
Yeah. Well, we are losing folks. I would love to hear before we end the thing altogether, what do you guys think you would like, what's the message you would like to send out to other people, maybe people like you or people not like you or whatever, to say like, well, you're looking for something. How can we help you find it? What would you guys say?
I don't totally understand that. Message we want to put out to other people about what we want or what we think is good in the world or what?
Well, yeah, what you think worked for you, and if they want to look for, if you have advice for folks of like to just go for it, or yeah, I'm saying
Okay.
it badly. Crystal, save me.
I think I've got
Oh, yeah. The thing that we want to share with people who are curious about, experience, curious about cuddling, curious about cuddle events. The thing that if you had the microphone and you were able to just be like, hey, go for it, or what your message might be about men and cuddling, about your experience, or even an inspirational thought that you want to share.
Okay, I've got one. My father was a military officer who worked at the headquarters of NATO in Europe and during my high school years. His idea of courage was playing with ICBMs that were prone to destroy all life on Earth. It's a common theme with men. My message to men is if you want to show real courage, let's get together and find ways to support each other in moving into a world in which men are not so violent and so destructive and can find ways to help each other heal. Let's get together as guys, as the therapeutic cuddle group in Pennsylvania and in Philadelphia was doing, or still doing, but not online. But just help each other heal and transform our world. Because I think if men, we've traditionally been in a place of privilege, particularly adult men, and are rewarded for that. And if we really get clear on change, the whole world changes. And I know it's difficult work, it's scary work, but I think for us all, it needs to happen.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things is that if I were talking to somebody who was approaching me about cuddle therapy or sessions or events, I think one of the biggest things I'd say is you won't believe the emotional and mental benefits that you'll receive. You've got to learn the fundamentals. You've got to be focused on consent, connection, and boundaries. Understand what those mean in a cuddle session or a cuddle event. Once you embrace and understand those things, I think that what I've looked into is, the physical benefits, the fact that you have a better heart rate after cuddle therapy. It's not just all about the oxytocin, although I might get a t-shirt that says all about the oxytocin. There are so many other physical, mental, and emotional health benefits that come along with cuddle therapy that once you kind of be a student, learn about those, and then participate in cuddle therapy, I think that you find that, you as an individual will be better off, and those around you will be better off. Because even some of the things that I use in my daily interactions with family and friends, I think have been improved because of cuddle therapy, because I'm a lot more mindful about things now than I have been in the past. And I think mindfulness is one of those other benefits that people might not think of right away that really do help you, whether it's in your career or in your personal life, whatever it might be.
That's very well said, Jeff. I feel really, really resonant with the mindfulness. We've talked about that together. And again, I feel like we've touched on so many rich topics. I really do want to honor, both of you have already shared so much about what entering this world has done for you. And I really want to honor any more, deep dives. The question that comes up that I've been wanting to ask the whole time actually was, can you illuminate a little bit about how this work may have enhanced external connections, whether with other males or females. I would love both, with family, with friends, with random strangers. If there's anything, and you both mentioned a lot already along these lines, but I'd love to get as much of a definitive concept of what you feel has been the real takeaway in your other interactions for being a part of this world, the cuddle world, both virtually and in person, both events and one-on-one, just anything you're open to sharing.
Razzie, do you want to go first? Otherwise, I have what I want to share.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Probably the biggest thing for me is just the benefits that I've had through cuddle therapy and events have really focused me to be a better listener. I know in years past, it was, okay, was somebody saying something in a meeting, or we're having a team event. Now I know why Batman works individually. But in team events for work, it was about listening to other people. And so many times I was just as guilty as everybody else, like listening so I could speak. Oh, okay, you said what you said. Okay, now here's what I really wanted to say. Whereas now I'm a lot more mindful to, in a group setting, I want to be kind of the last one to speak and not the first one, to really take in what other people are saying, see if I understand it, and sometimes even not repeat it back to them like a parrot, but kind of make sure I fully understand what they're intending to say, and not just the words, but the tone of voice, the facial expressions, paying a lot more attention to those cues as well as the actual words themselves. And that's really come through the mindfulness that I've learned through cuddle therapy, is to kind of not be the first one to act or react, but to kind of sit back a little bit more and let others speak before I share what I feel I want to get from that meeting, that session. And that's not just in my professional life, but in my personal life. I was always okay, I'll start the conversation for a family meeting regarding Christmas or something like that. And now it's like, hey, I'll let everybody else talk, and then maybe I'll throw my 2 cents in where I think I can help. But it doesn't require a response from me every single time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that perspective, and I appreciate that skill. I think that it's certainly one of the most important skills to connect to other people, being able to listen, being able to observe. So I feel really grateful to hear that once again. Thank you.
Well, as one of my cuddle therapists, Crystal, I would say that you would normally say I've done the heavy lifting, but I wouldn't have gotten there without your expert skill ability in the world of cuddle therapy. So there's my plug for you. But it's true, I mean, I wanted a better life. I want a better future. I knew I couldn't do it by myself. I needed help. And certainly cuddle therapy has been a key component of that in the last, say, 10 months.
I'm really honored and grateful. Thank you for your shares and your plug.
Yeah.
More coffee for you, Jeff. Me.
All right. Woohoo. I'm a coffee guy.
And of course, I want to honor Razzie. Again, I think that, and actually, I'd love to hear from Mary as well. The things that we've learned in this industry, no matter if we're on this side of the stool or fence or the other side, I feel like there are so many beautiful benefits, but I would love any drilled down concepts that you want to share, that how this has shifted you, and especially regarding interactions to others. And please feel free to share when ready.
Yeah, for me, it's is that okay, Mary? For me to go first?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
The drive has been healing for me for sure, and finding safe, supportive community, which is really crucial for me. It's been, I read a book, Legacy Russell Glitch Feminism, which talks about her journey as a lesbian in Harlem and having a horrible time coming out at all because it's very, very dangerous. And she created her community online before she created one in person. And my niece actually works with her in a museum down there now. And so I was like, well, there's a personal connection I didn't know. But her book is a small one, and it's kind of I'm trying to create, the world of my youth and the world that surrounds me is very vertically structured. It's a lot about dominance and winning and power. That's really, really important in our culture. And Cuddle Party isn't about that at all. It's much more about equals and co-created consent. I like to use the word co-created because consent word get batted around an awful lot, and I don't think it's often means the same thing. But co-created is kind of we both create this together, and once we decide that, yeah, this is going to work, we do it. That's a really strong message that we're all equals here. You know, we all have our egos, we all struggle with them, and they cause us undue stress and distress, kind of getting back on the mindful thing that Jeff was talking about. And here's an opportunity to really live that sense of we're equals and we can help each other, rather than I'm at war with you because I want to win, which is kind of the dominant mentality. And that for me is, it's kind of, I spent time in the Osho communes in the 80s, and I became a disciple of Osho in 1985. So my spiritual background is pretty intense in that department. And experienced something there that is so hard to put into words. It's just beyond, it's but beautiful, incredibly beautiful. And kind of Cuddle Party kind of touches on that. It's a taste of it, and it's kind of it's slowly making a way of integrating the world of my youth, which was military, very vertical, very, very violent in many ways. And then this beautiful world that Osho kind of shared with me briefly when I was in his communes. And it's like, and it's hopefully kind of bringing them together in a language that ordinary people can understand. So I've often struggled with the word Cuddle Party because it brings up so many strange ideas in people's heads. Adam once talked about it. His sister thought he was a cover for orgies, and I was like, oh boy, did you ever miss the point? And it's common. People go there just almost routinely. One of the names I thought was, mindful relating is kind of relating as equals. It misses the playful piece, which is unfortunate because it's a key ingredient. So maybe playful mindful relating. But I don't know how you
Writing it down.
I don't know how you convey. It's kind of like, when you live in a commune of an enlightened being, you experience something, or we experience something called the Buddha field, which is, you can't put it, that's the word they use, but until you felt it, you cannot convey it. It's just, you feel it. And it's kind of like that in Cuddle Party. Until you've done it, until you've jumped in, experimented, and explored it, it's really hard to put into words because it's such a feeling thing. It's so felt. It's so, how do you convey something that people have no experience of? They just have to try it. And so, and I just get to enjoy it. So it's, it's, I don't know, I kind of went off on a tangent here, but I hope I answered the question sort of.
Very well.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually,
but it's good. It's good stuff.
yeah, I love how you were just talking about that because, honestly, we have had many, many hours of discussion about the name Cuddle Party and just using the word cuddle at all for generally for any of this work. And we have not come up with anything better yet. So for now, it's still cuddle. And cuddle is getting more recognition, and Cuddle Party even is getting more understanding, I think. So that is good. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, many, many hours of discussion. Like, what name would work better? I don't know. And what you just said, like, there's no way you can explain it. You just have to experience it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in this town, I think if I ever, I've been trying to train, but I just don't have the strength to do it as a facilitator, but to pull it off. But I think if I ever got the strength, I would probably frame it as something like mindful relating or playful mindful relating to get that. And I was thinking I would want, to not be the only facilitator. I like the facilitation role to be shared because that really anchors the spirit. Unfortunately, it gets expensive, but I mean, with enough donations, eventually you can do it. But I like that idea of here we are equals, helping each other as we struggle with this life in a body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very powerful words. Definitely.
You know, and has everyone had a chance to answer the question? Because I kind of had an answer too.
Go for it, Mary.
Go for it.
What a cuddle message has done in my life. You know, it's Pride Month in the US, and so I was thinking about that, and I made a post, and I am a cisgender female, and I'm heterosexual, but I have had a coming out experience, you know, journey, because I am non-monogamous, and I enjoy sharing connection with lots of people, you know, in whatever way it works for us, and including sex, if or not, you know. So yeah, and being able to learn through the cuddling message, like all the ways to negotiate your voice and be strong in your own empowerment, like that was what helped me figure out who I am, and that figure out how I could tell people what I am. And yeah, I was actually kind of surprised to realize, yeah, I have had a coming out myself, even though I am cis and hetero. Like, you know, as I'm telling people more and more often, like, yeah, I enjoy being non-monogamous. I like having lots of intimate friends. And the way people look at me and treat me, but anyway, that's kind of a tangent, but like, no, I don't have sex with the guy every time I'm with him. You know, that's not how it works. I have friends, we connect certain ways, and yeah, it's kind of cool. But you know, when I first started looking for Cuddle Party, and I found Cuddle Party and got all those messages internalized of how to communicate and how to figure out what I want and how to tell people what I want. And that was what made me realize, like, no, this is help me solidify who I am and be able to tell people in a way. So yeah, and I had a dear friend who's gay tell me, you know, non-monogamy is queer now, and I'm like, it is? Yay! I'm queer. Awesome. So I was so happy. Like, there's somewhere I belong, you know. So that was exciting for me, and that's part of my journey and kind of where it's led me to. So yeah, I wanted to answer the question. Thank you for letting me answer.
I love hearing that, Mary, and I really resonate with that. Those layers that we uncover and that we start to share more authentically is a really important journey. It's definitely part of cuddling, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I resonate with it strongly.
Yeah, definitely. You should write that down, what you just said, because it was great, like uncovering your layers and sharing them
do it.
authentically. Write it down. Yeah, that is what it's all about.
I've
Yeah,
already got playful,
absolutely.
mindful relating too. So we're getting lots of things coming down the pike. We got some good collaborative events coming if you guys want to join up.
There you go. Exactly. Okay, well, we do need to kind of wrap it up, but I would love to hear from you guys if you want to share any contact info, if we want people to be able to contact you, or you know, if you have one last message you want to say before we start to wrap up. What have you guys?
I defer to Razzie to start.
As far as contact goes, I post the virtual Cuddle Party news on the Cuddle Party official Facebook page pretty regularly, so that's a good way to kind of connect. Tomorrow is National Children's Day in the US, and I just want to wish you all
Aw,
Thank you.
Happy Kids Day tomorrow. I don't know what you say for belated, but well, it's the opposite of belated.
early?
Early. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, hopefully you'll find a way to celebrate the part of you that is still young, innocent, playful, and sensitive. Give them a little time.
Yes,
Her,
please.
they, them, whatever the gender is.
Yeah.
Little time and space, and
Mhm.
give them a hug.
Oh,
for,
yes.
for me. Every child matters. Even your inner kid. And tomorrow's the day to celebrate it.
Mm.
I love hearing that. I will definitely be celebrating both my inner child and my actual children. We will spend lots of time doing really goofy things. That is like the mission. So I love hearing that.
Mm,
Thank you for sharing.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to try this and hopefully this will work out well. Most of you can see I'm wearing the red shirt and I'll kind of stand up a little bit. Okay, and I wasn't sure about today, but Razzie, just to comment, the inner child is coming out. Let me show you how to do this without falling.
What are you?
Can you see it from the back of the shirt?
Ah!
It's
Yeah, I see it.
Perfect.
Kneel down a little bit. Kneel down a little bit.
Oh,
There it
there we
is.
are.
There it is. Yeah. Love
So
it.
he's working his way out from the inside. He's made it to the back of the shirt.
I love that. That's awesome.
And thank you for indulging me with that. But I guess the only other piece of advice or word of thought here is just be a student. Learn about cuddle therapy. It really has so many benefits: mental, emotional, physical. Google it, look it up, learn about it. You know, I did it and it's worked out phenomenally for me. I think it can work out for so many others, but you have to be willing to take those first steps. And those can be scary ones, but well worth it in the long run. That's my public service announcement for today. Thank you.
I feel like it's a commercial. I really feel like your skills are amazing, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Crystal.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who is here. There's been such a rich amount of information shared and authentic, just awesomeness. I'm always very enamored with everyone I know from Nurtured Nerds, and to meet you, Razzie, and of course to see you again, Mary. It's been really a blessing, and of course I'm super thrilled. Jeff, thank you for joining us. I'm sharing that I'm in Pittsburgh, and that if you want to reach me, you can email crystaltherapy.cc@gmail.com. You can find me on Cuddlist. I am working to finish my Cuddle Party certification. I've been like jumping some hoops recently, which I feel like I've had a long time to do this. And also I updated my domain. So now I have cuddlepittsburgh.com as a website. So I'm super pumped to get that all up and running. And I think it may be official tomorrow. We'll find out. You never know. But you're always welcome to call me also at 412-368-2409. Thank you. That was my public service announcement.
Woohoo. Yeah, and I'm available at marycuddler@gmail.com, and I have a website at marycuddler.com, although it's a little outdated, but it's still pretty relevant. And I have a lot of other things going on, but go look at my website if you want to see it. Yeah, I'd love to hear from any of you guys. So yeah, always open to stuff. Thank you. And I didn't say, but I'm back in Boquete, Panama now. Although
Nice.
I frequently visit back to Salt Lake, which is kind of where my base is. Yeah, it's great here. Shall I read the promos or do you want it, Crystal?
Whatever works for you. I'm easygoing. My computer's giving me some twitchiness, so maybe we'll let you run it.
I'll do them quick. Yeah. Okay. So this is Nurtured Nerds. Yay. You can find us at nurturednerds.com. We're on facebook.com/nurturednerds. Oh yeah, we're still trying to put together an Instagram, Discord, or a Twitch. So if you guys are interested in that, come help us because we're not into those apparently at the moment, but we like to be. We have an email at nurturednerdsnewbies@gmail.com or nurturednerds@gmail.com, and Crystal will be happy to answer those if you send an email to her there. We also have a meetup, Nurtured Nerds, so we can use that as a tool. We have a new raffle once every quarter or so. So anybody who signs up as a member, it's free, and you'll be entered into our raffle to get some free cool giveaways. There's a drawing, you can win some free loot, and including a 30-minute virtual session with one of our professional cuddlers here after you have a screening. We have my book. That was the creative thing I did. It's called The Art of Authenticity that I wrote. Some people told me it was good, so I think it's not horrible. And you could get a free game card. So all kinds of fun things here. Come join us in our community. We do our side quests, and we do the get-togethers of our hangouts, nerd breaks, where people play games and chat, and it's just a fun time to get connected. And you can find out about those on the Facebook page. And we've got all of our past podcasts in our YouTube. So go check out the YouTube, and hopefully you can listen to some things, make some comments, so we know people are looking at us there, maybe. Once in a while would be nice. But you know what? I don't do this so that people watch. I love just the connection that we've had, and it's worth it to me just for even if it stopped right here and didn't go anywhere. So I am appreciative of you guys, Jeff and Razzie and Crystal and Alyssa and Yoni, who are with us, and Gita, who's our producer. And I want to just say thank you for being here. And then I'm going to say, hey, are we feeling nurtured?
Yeah.
Yeah? Does anybody want a hug? Because I have a hug if you want one. So
Ready. I've got a shark and a hug.
yeah. Okay. Oh, we got Kermity to help out over there. Yes. I need one of those now. I need a big one, a big bear like that. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for being here. And with that,
Thank you.
I think episode 33 is a wrap. Woohoo! Cool. All right. Good work, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice work, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you, Crystal and Jeffrey.
It was a pleasure. Definitely.
Yes.
I'd love to ask, you mentioned 2 different books, Razzie, Legacy, and I didn't get the rest of it. And then you mentioned another book, and it was earlier in the conversation. Do you recall what the title of both books were?
Which Feminism is by Legacy Russell.
Legacy Russell, and that was called
That's about creating community online as a medium way to kind of create your in-person one, or to kind of, since local connections are so difficult, then creating one online is a good start, and that's definitely what I'm doing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I can't recall what other book I would have mentioned.
No worries. I'm gonna re-listen later. So I'll find it. Okay.
There you go.
I've definitely been really impressed with the authors we've had on here. I have Mary's book, and it's amazing, and of course Yoni's book as well, that I show to people all the time for my events. So it was a really cool group and a lot of rich content. Thank you guys for being here.
Anything else?
I'm good. I'm feeling fine.
Yeah.